to pursue the wealth.
Welcome back to another episode of the Pursuit of Wealth podcast. Today we got a special guest with us, Mr. Tyler Bean. He is the, I'm going to forget it already, the director of sales for Radix. I'm like, he literally just told me this. I'm going to brain fart it. Director of sales with Radix. Radix is a solar company. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or what do you guys sell?
You say where?
Or what? Like product? Is it just solar?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've kind of ventured into batteries, generators, fiber internet a little bit too. So
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. How long have you been doing that for?
I've been doing that for 4 years now.
4 years?
Yeah.
Okay. So selling or?
So first year was like pretty strictly selling,
Okay.
and then kind of got into the management side of things and then scaled that. But I've also kind of sold, alongside managing. I enjoy the sales process and I enjoy all that too. So
Yeah. So you're running a team now. How many guys do you have?
so this year we're kind of in the process of, recruiting during that off season period, but we should end up with 30 to 40 guys.
Wow. What kind of, so I've had guys on that do like pest control. And I feel like for pest control, it's like in order to do a lot of volume, I mean, you got to have a lot of guys. What is like a standard team size within solar, and like what kind of production do you guys, will a group of 35 guys do?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it kind of varies. Like it depends on, I guess, the culture of, the company and kind of what guys like to do. I would say like a more of a standard size would be, 15 to like 20 guys. Where we run a summer model, we tend to try to get a little bit bigger of a team, go out, hit it hard for 4 or 5 months. But there's also teams within Radix that do, they're doing it year round, and there's, 10 to 12 guys that are super tight knit, and it's like an everyday thing. So
Really?
yeah.
What's like what kind of income do the guys that go out make with solar?
Our year-round guys, we just posted the stats on our Instagram, but I think our top 10 average earnings was in the 400,000s.
Wow.
A lot of those are year-round guys, so they're doing it every day. Top 25, the average is around 250.
That's still massive.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Good. Summer guys, it just depends. It's a little less, and it kind of depends on your experience. If it's like your first year, you're looking between 30 to 40, I would say.
Wow.
If it's like your second, third year, then it starts getting a lot higher there. But
That's cool, dude. It's such a door-to-door sales is such a fascinating industry. Like there's so much potential. You hear all the stories of the guys that crush it. But I'm like, even you say like your average guy's doing like 30 to 40 in a summer. It's like, that's amazing. That's like 10 grand. How long are they usually out? Like 4 months?
yeah, 4 months, 5 months, depending on kind of school and stuff usually.
Which is like, that's like 10 grand a month.
Yeah.
That's massive.
It's solid.
You're
I mean,
in
it's
school.
It's hard to beat, especially if you're, in college and younger guy with no degree. Like I haven't seen anything else that, has more potential.
Competes with it.
That's what makes it fun.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your story. You've been doing this for 5 years. Was this what you wanted to do? Like where did you start your direction?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it's not what I planned on at all. The first summer I actually sold DirecTV and AT&T Internet.
Interesting.
Out in North Carolina. Me and my wife, we got married, got back from our honeymoon, packed our car up, and drove across the country, North Carolina.
Wow.
We sold for that summer and had a good time, but I didn't love it. Like I didn't love the product necessarily. I don't watch TV myself, and I was saving people money, which I could get behind. But my real goal was to go to medical school and become a doctor.
Really?
Yeah, that's kind of what I had always wanted to do. But there was also like a side of me that loved sales and business, and so the idea was become a doctor, open up my own practice, and kind of get the best of both worlds. But that's kind of the track that I was originally on.
How did you, so you did your first year door-to-door sales just while you were going to school?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just in a break between semesters.
Who did you get connected to, or how did you get connected with door-to-door?
That's kind of funny. There's always this joke at Radix. All the Shelly guys ended up doing door-to-door. There was one guy, his name's Quaid. He did a really good job recruiting when he was in high school.
Really?
And so he got a lot of these guys that were just graduating to go out and sell, and they made great money. And so that word just like spread like wildfire.
Got it.
And so I got linked into that group, and so just from mutual friends I kind of grew up with.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you were selling with Quaid when you went out and did the DirecTV and stuff?
Kind of. He was more higher up. He wasn't like in the day to day.
Okay.
But yeah, I was kind of under his region.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So tell me about year one, like coming back. Did you make good money that first year going out?
Yeah. So my first year, doing the DirecTV thing, I was a top rookie. I made good money. I made like $40,000.
Wow.
And that was life-changing money because my wife and I are going to school at BYU. We didn't really have any money. We just got married. So I felt like I was rich. Like, and going back, like looking at that, that's what opened my eyes to like the possibility that's in just sales in general.
Yeah.
But also specifically door to door. I would say that was probably the most important $40,000 I've ever made, just because of the mind shift that gave me.
Yeah. Going from like, wow, I can go out and make $40,000 in 4 months.
Yeah.
And not have any degree or any, experience in this.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
So coming back, did you decide, like, was it right after that first summer that you decided to not pursue medical, or did you go out a few more summers before you made that shift?
No, I was still super gung-ho on medicine. I took the next 2 summers off, focused on school. When you go to medical school, you have to do all this extracurricular stuff too. So I was doing like research with a professor and volunteer hours, and I actually got my EMT license.
Oh, really?
I kind of volunteered as an EMT for a summer. Got to ride in the ambulance, which was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, so door to door was like out of my mind. After that, I wasn't even.
You're just back dialed into.
Yeah, and then the solar wave kind of popped up, and that's what got me into it. I remember some of the guys that I worked with doing TV. Like we had like really similar numbers. Seeing what they were making in solar, I was like, "What? Like that's pretty crazy." Like I'd be dumb not to at least check this out. And so went out for a couple months and had a big first year, and
really,
and kind of was like, okay, well maybe I'll just do this and pay for medical school cash and not have to get a loan. Like that'd be amazing. But things kind of changed, and after that first summer, I actually saw like what I made. I was like, dang, I'm making like what a doctor makes now, and I don't have to go to school. And so that kind of started like the pivot for me.
Really?
Yeah.
So was that your second summer? Your second summer going out was for solar?
Yeah. Yep.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. So what did you want to do? Like what kind of, did you want to become a doctor, and like in what field?
Yeah. So I wanted to be a surgeon.
Really?
Yeah. One of my guy I really looked up to growing up, kind of a mentor for me. He's an orthopedic surgeon here in Idaho Falls.
Okay.
But I also like, I got to see, I went to church with him too. And so like had a pretty intimate relationship with him. And I also got to see, what he did in the business world. And I was like, that is really, really cool. And I almost think I was probably more attracted to like the things he was investing in and doing on the side.
Is it Lillenquist?
No, it's Casey Huntsman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a stud. Awesome guy.
Big, yeah. He's a big shot here.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of stuff going on. That's cool. So you were thinking about going that direction. What made you, aside from maybe just the financial knowledge of like what solar could make, what else caused you to want to pivot?
I think the lifestyle.
Really?
Like I've always been, the classic purple Bible, whatever, the rich dad, poor dad, like own assets that, pay for your lifestyle. And that's ultimately, I think I realized like that's really what I wanted. I liked like the prestige of becoming a doctor.
Yeah.
And that was actually really hard for me to transition away from that, because door-to-door sales is on the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
No prestige, not glamorous. It's like the, like the stereotypical guy that does door-to-door sales is the sales bro that's just in college.
Yep.
So I had a really hard time with that. But the lifestyle, I think like being a doctor is an incredible profession, very respectable. But as I was shadowing doctors, I just realized like, man, they're, they busted their tail in medical school for, 4 years of medical school, then a residency after that, like 8 years. And then they're still working like 60, 70, 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
And making great money. But when I saw like what you could potentially make in sales and work a lot less, I was like, man, that's pretty attractive. So
Yeah. I think looking at like doctors, it's like you got a lot of them too, like surgeons, you got to be on call, so you can only be so far away from the hospital, for certain days. And it's an amazing profession, I think. But you got to love what you're doing.
For sure.
Like if you really want to make it, because it's going to require a lot of time.
Yeah. I had a lot of people tell me, like, don't do this profession for the money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do it because you truly love it. And I actually, I'm kind of weird. I love school. Like, I loved a lot of my chemistry classes and everything.
Really?
But I think a big part of why I was doing it was because of, the earning potential there.
Yeah.
And so once my eyes were open to, like, other opportunities, that's kind of why I pivoted.
Kind of shifted.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's hard, I mean, like going to college, it's like you got to think about how much you're going to pay to go to college. You also want to make sure that whatever you're going to college for is going to have a big enough payout at the end. So it's like, I think a lot of people are going to college and looking at, well, studying things that have a bigger payout at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just natural because you're going to take on debt to get there. So
Totally.
it's like, how am I going to pay this debt off?
Totally. Yeah.
It's really hard to want to, I mean, go to school to be a teacher and it's like, it's tough. It's a tough outcome.
Yeah.
But, so pivoting into, doing your sales, was it year 2 after year 2 that you're like, hey, I'm going full in now? Yeah,
it was really, after that second year, and just seeing like the potential that was there, I met my business partner now, Caden.
Yeah.
And I met him that first summer, and like we just started talking in the off season. We're like, hey, like why don't we just go run a team? I was like, yeah, I could do it, but I'm gonna be pretty busy with like this medical school thing. And he just sold me on doing that. He's like, dude, I'll carry the weight here. I'd love to partner with you. And so we kind of started going that route, and then it just completely changed from there. And I was like, man, this is like, I just want to go all in on this. And so that's kind of where it happened. And that was that third summer was the first time I was like all in on solar. Like
Right.
I actually had a date for the MCAT. I was studying for it, and I completely pivoted and left that behind to do it. And so I was all in. Like I kind of, I burned the boats, and like I had to make it work, and it worked out really well.
What did your family think?
They were super supportive. Like,
Really?
yeah, they've always been like, you do your thing. Like they didn't push me anyway. So
That's cool.
they've always been really supportive.
Same with your spouse?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
She's a rock star. She actually loves sales. She loves to travel and go see different places in the summer and stuff. So
Yeah.
she's been a rock star with it.
It's so powerful. I think a lot of people, I say that because it's like your spouse can really dictate a lot of, where you go in life. Like
Big time.
if your spouse wasn't supportive of that and was like pushing you to be in school, it's like, that's probably what you would have done.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah.
So it's like when people talk about, I'm like, one of the biggest decisions you can make is on who you decide to do life with, like who you decide to marry. And so that's cool that both your family and your spouse were supportive of that.
Yeah. I consider myself pretty lucky.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Just because, it's a big difference going from I'm going to be a doctor to I want to be in solar cells.
For sure.
Doing door-to-door sales.
Yeah.
So that third year when you guys were running the team, how many guys did you get to go out with you that year?
That was a huge year. So everyone was like, kind of hearing about the success stories in solar. And so that year we started the year, we had like over 100 guys.
Wow.
We had 5 teams. We had like 3 in California, 1 in New Mexico, and 1 in Texas.
Jeez.
So that was a big year, big recruiting year that year.
That's in being transitioning from prior to that, you had just been doing your own sales, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How was it transitioning from just dealing with your own sales to running a team of almost 100 guys?
That's a great question. It was hard.
Yeah.
Because when you're a leader and you're managing, you're also looked at as the guy that should be leading from the front.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the best leaders do that.
Yeah.
And so trying to balance those things, it takes a lot. Very hard. Like one of the hardest things I've done, I would say.
Yeah. That year, did you still sell a ton that year?
Yeah. That year. So that was my second year in solar that we did that. Well, sorry, you're referencing the third year?
Yeah. When you were running a team, were you still doing sales on top
still selling.
of that?
Yep. I was out there full time with the guys selling and day to day. Yeah.
Yeah. It adds a whole new complex when, because we deal with that in real estate. It's like we start out with doing our own sales, and then you kind of grow a team, and but it changes everything when you add trying to manage people on top of that. Or is anything that caught you off guard? Like, do you like running a team, or do you like managing people, or do you like just doing sales?
I like managing.
Really?
I I love the leadership side of things there, and the development side. Like that's probably where I get the most fulfillment. I don't know about you. I'd be curious to hear what you think there too. But like, especially in door to door, because in door to door it's 100% commission, and so when you recruit a guy, you're sitting across the table, and usually it's a younger group of people. So these are guys and gals that are just out of high school or first or second year of college typically, and they say yes to going and betting on themselves. Like, that's a powerful thing. Yeah. Understanding that like, hey, if I don't make a sell, I'm not going to make any money out here. So that's probably the most rewarding thing for me is like seeing someone go and bet on themselves, and then obviously when it works out, it's like it's just the coolest thing ever.
Having that bet pay off. Yeah.
What do you think though?
I'm the same way. Like I've loved growing a team. My wife, she hasn't loved it as much just because it adds some stress.
For sure, yeah.
I think the hardest part, and I think you mentioned this as well, is separating the personal relationships from business, because it's like
it's hard to do.
So hard. Everybody that we bring on our team, like we truly love. Like we keep a pretty tight knit group. It's like we don't just bring on anybody, and so it's really hard when something doesn't pan out. Like on us, it's like if an agent's not successful, like I take that as like, what am I doing wrong? How do I get it? I'm like, but at the end of the day, you can provide the opportunity, but you can't provide the drive. Like that's well said. They've got to find their own drive. And so, taking that, and then also like if, people grow and like they want to go out and maybe try their own thing or spread their wings somewhere else, and finding that balance of like, you're happy for them, but you're also like so sad that they're leaving. And so it's, I love doing it, but there is those challenges that I don't think a lot of people talk about. And I think it's probably similar for you. It's like, you spend a lot, 3, 4, 5 months with these people, like nonstop, and then to not have them either go out the next summer or have them leave somewhere else. Like, how have you dealt with that?
It's probably the hardest thing. Like, I think the biggest thing that's helped is just trying to have an abundance mindset as much as I can, you know. It's really hard because I think naturally, like, I think everyone kind of tends to go towards the scarcity side of things, but having that abundant mindset of like, hey, you know what, like if that's where you feel like is better for you, then do it, Like I wouldn't want someone to come work for me if they feel like that's not truly the best opportunity for them, because then they're not all in, and it's just kind of a weird relationship. Yeah. So I don't know if that's a good answer or not, but I just would say like trying to keep an abundant mindset and trying to view their perspective the best you can.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. I think like if you think that there's a better opportunity out there, you by all means go take it. Yeah. I think the hard part is like when you know that they just don't know. You know what I mean? You're like, I know you think it's a better opportunity, or you think that's easy or this or that, and you're like, I just want to like shake you and be like, sometimes you just like the parent, like go out and learn, and we're here if you need anything. Yeah. And sometimes like we've had agents that just come back because they're like, yeah, it wasn't what we thought.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, what's that like on the backside?
Yeah. I think, so our first ones, it's actually interesting. Our first ever team member was Devin, and he was with us for a little over 1.5 years, and then decided he wanted to go out and do his own thing. And we kept a really good relationship. And I've tried to do that with all my agents. Unless they leave on bad terms, we try to leave everybody like, hey, we're still here. Yeah. If you need anything, that's cool. Like good relationship. And we actually ended up getting him back after like 1.5 years of him kind of running his own team. And now he's kind of in a team lead position here. So it's like, and he's helped us a ton. It's helped me step out of like running a lot of the day-to-day stuff with the team. And he had to go out and experience his own stuff before he'd be ready to like do what he's doing now. And so I'm like happy that he did it, and that it's just really helped me realize we've had a few agents that have left and come back, and that's made me realize like, dude, just you never know what's going to happen. Like your goal as a leader is to leave people better than you found them, and if they decide that whatever they're going to go try doesn't work out, like this can be another home for them. Like why not? Yeah. There's some people that are like, oh, if you're leaving me, you're never coming back, and it's like, dude, why? Yeah. Like let them go experience something, and then if you are a good option and they do want to come back, like let them come back. I take my ego out of it and try to look at it from there. But I've seen a lot of people that just get so frustrated when people leave. And and it is like a breakup. Like I think when Devin left at first, like I was really hurt, but I still try to just stay positive and have that abundance mindset of like,
Yeah.
we're going to keep doing our thing and they can go do their thing. And maybe who knows what the future leads, but I'm like, why burn a bridge?
Totally.
'Cause
It's
you
hard.
never know.
It's hard not to let that ego. Sometimes, like, you know, when they come back, it's like, dude, I told you so.
Yeah.
You want to say that, but you're like, nah, hey, man, love you. We're
Yeah.
glad you're back. Like, glad you're able to go experience that.
Yep.
I've had a lot of those too. So,
Yeah.
I feel you.
You have to. That's like it's the only way to do it. And some of these people, like the ones that we have gotten back, like Devin, he's come back and he's taken on a bigger role. So I'm like,
It's cool.
so it's huge benefit to the team for him to go out and experience that, and then be able to come back with his new tools and stuff that he's learned. So yeah. Anyway, it's a hard part of it, but I think there's also that rewarding part.
Yeah.
Like even if somebody doesn't come back, but they go out and they're successful, like I feel there's a piece that just feels good within me that like I helped along that journey.
Yeah.
Like whether they, see it now or not, like I feel good that, we helped them get to wherever they need to get to.
Yeah. I like that too. It reminds me of the idea of being an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like sometimes some people just like are way better operators as intrapreneurs.
Yeah.
I would say like to a degree, I'm kind of like that. Like that's how I've operated is more of an intrapreneur. Like I haven't gone and started my own solar business. Like I've had my own kind of business within, the company I work for within Radix, but, and I've operated well and I've loved that. I mean, I'm curious, like eventually I think I'll get into that more of that entrepreneur side of things, but being an entrepreneur, there's a lot of benefits there.
It's a lot of benefits.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. Like, my wife, she's more of an entrepreneur too. Like she doesn't like casting the big vision and doing like the big things, but she's really good at doing stuff when she kind of has a platform around her. I think same with like Devin, like he's an amazing leader and manager and like entrepreneur. Like he helps still with a lot of the growth stuff, but he also doesn't want to like go out and try to do this all on his own.
Yeah.
And so I think, and that's okay. Like I think people are like have this entrepreneurs like on this pedestal of I just want to be an entrepreneur and make my own money. It's like that's great, but like also look at your options that you have around you. Is there an ecosystem that you can just be a part of to leverage and grow a business within the business? And that's kind of the model that we've taken too, is like an agent that's come back to us is we're allowing him to kind of grow a team and his business within our umbrella. And it's like, it sounds like that's what Radix is. And it's like, as long as you can achieve the goals that you want to achieve within that umbrella, it's like, why would you even want to go anywhere else and take on the headache? Because it is
Absolutely
so much work. You've probably seen it from Quaid, like just the work to get it to where it's at. I look back and I'm like, dude, if I had to go back and restart a team and get it to where we're at today, I'm like, I just don't know if I'd do it.
Really?
Wow. Yeah. It's it's painful. It's hard at the beginning. Like you really just don't see the benefits till you're like a certain size. And I don't know, maybe I'd go a different direction. Now we're to a point where I'm like, I feel good, but it was not an easy 4 or 5 years.
That's a heavy weight to carry as an entrepreneur. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I think in most scenarios you can kind of walk away if things fall apart, and like you don't have a ton on the line usually,
Correct.
And you can make a great income doing that.
Correct.
So it's like there's so many ways to look at it, but I think entrepreneur is a great start for someone that wants to become an entrepreneur too, and then that's kind of how I viewed it as well. Yeah, like it's been training wheels for me.
Yeah, and I think it's Gary Vee. He says this. He's like, the number two or number three at Google still makes like way more than any number one at most businesses.
Totally.
So it's like if you can just be a number one or number two, a number three, even number five at like Apple and Google, like to help a company grow, it's like you're going to make way more than 99% of people. And you look at a lot of businesses and it's like you actually don't know the payroll struggles that businesses are having. You don't know, and you're not feeling it. Their goal is, as the entrepreneur, is to make anybody in the organization not feel any pains that they're feeling.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just don't know the stories. I see stories all the time. It's like Yahoo. I saw one today on Instagram. It was like Yahoo struggled at the beginning or not Yahoo, FedEx struggled at the beginning of their business to just meet fuel costs for the planes and trucks that were doing deliveries. And the CEO like took the last like $5,000 he had, went to Vegas, like turned it into like 30 grand and like covered some payroll stuff.
Jeez.
But then was able to keep it rolling, and then had to go raise like a few $1 million. And then like a few years later, they started being profitable, like, you know, 4 or 5 million. But it's like, dude, you look at them now and you're like, oh man, you know, I'd want to start that. It's like, do you have the stomach to do what it would take to get that to there? I mean, Tesla, you look at Elon now where he's at, but I mean, he was sleeping on the warehouse floors. I think Tesla was like literally like a month or two away from going bankrupt at one point. Like the amount of stress that comes, but like the number, you know, 4 or 5 guy that's still making solid money there. Never, I mean, they got to go home at nights, put their head on the pillow and sleep.
Yeah.
And Elon's just stressing about everything. So sometimes it's like, you just got to decide what is it you actually want to do.
Yeah.
Like I would say being an entrepreneur is good if you are actually passionate and want to do whatever it is that you're trying to build a business around. But it's like, if you're just wanting to be the number one because you think there's more money there, I'd encourage you to probably look a little deeper, because it's probably not, you know. Maybe at some point there is, but like then you got to decide, do I have the stomach to try to go and climb that ladder?
Yeah. It's a shot in the dark for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting, but I like I really want to shed more light on that, because I'm like, there's just this fad with people that want to be their own businesses or be the entrepreneurs and even like sales guys. I'm like, there's so many good things about it, but there's also like, you should know the downsides to it. So
yeah, you got to be real about it.
Yeah, and you got to do a deep dive of like, what is it that you actually want? Because I think once you start making good money, you start to think like, what is it that I actually want in my life?
Mm-hmm.
Like I sacrifice a lot of things, but I'm like, I really just want time with my family, and I want to do fit. Like I want to get my health back, and like it's like the important things.
Yeah. But
you forget about that when you're on the journey to try to make money.
It's hard, man. There's so many distractions.
Oh yeah. So, but getting back into your kind of story here, what do you like now that you've been running a team and stuff? What do you feel like is the biggest? Have you noticed anything between your top sales guys, or the guys that crush it in door to door, and the ones that just don't tend to make it? Because there's people that I've seen in sales that I'm like, oh, these guys are gonna crush it, and they don't, and I'm like, how do they not do good? Like they're really personable. But like from your perspective as a leader in solar, what do you think makes a good sales guy, or what do you think differentiates them?
Super good question. I've thought about it a lot, and I think like what you said is also, I can relate to that. Like I've seen a guy come in, good looking guy, talks great, you know, he like good social cues. Funny enough, sometimes in door to door, like the guys that actually have terrible social cues do really well.
Because they just don't know how to.
They don't get the nose, and they're like, I'm just going to keep going, and like they just get sales. But I think the top guys are the guys that are just consistent, you know, and it doesn't mean like they don't have to be consistent at like a crazy high output, you know, of effort.
Yeah.
But just being like consistent, and it's not just consistent, I think like in their craft, but it's like getting consistent on working on their craft too. The guys that, you know, spend an hour a day before they're on the doors, you know, in the mirror practicing their pitch or role playing and working on those sales skills and like getting really comfortable, and then they're consistent on the doors. They're not finding, you know, a curb to go sit on. They're not finding a park bench, even if they're moving a little slower, but they're just consistent. Like those are the guys I feel like are dangerous when it comes to production.
It's a little bit of preparation.
Yeah.
And then consistency with that. I think you're right. And I think that if you look at like most things in life, that usually plays out. Just being consistent mostly plays out well. It's like fitness. It's like if you're just consistent at going to the gym like 4 days a week, you'd probably be in better shape.
Yeah, totally.
It's like you don't have to go 7 days a week. You don't have to like go crazy while you're at the gym, but if you're just consistent.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the hardest things to do though.
It absolutely is. I mean, that's why we were talking about 75 hard a little bit before.
Yeah.
And I've tried it. I've tried it and
We've
failed.
both tried it.
Yeah. But I'm actually like, I don't know if I'll try it again. And I'm not a huge proponent of it because, you know, like the reason people do 75 hard, I mean, there may be a couple reasons. Like the mental toughness is huge. But if someone's doing like 75 hard to get to like, you know, a more ideal physique or whatever they're trying to get to, I don't think that's the way to do it. Like, I think it comes down to your identity. This is something I've studied a lot and thought a lot about the last 2-3 years is like what's my identity, and when you're more consistent, you know, in the book Atomic Habits, it talks about this, like when you go to the gym, like that's a vote for yourself to become the person that goes to the gym consistently.
Yep.
Even if it's like 30 minutes, you know, but that consistency is, I think, what changes your personal identity and like how you view yourself. Because if you see yourself as the guy that does that, it's going to be a lot easier to go do it.
Yeah. I love that. It's I'm a runner, so I'm going to go do this because that's what runners do.
Exactly.
I'm a healthy eater, so I'm not going to eat the donut because that's not what I do. You internalize that identity. And I think you're right. The 75 hard is a quick fix.
Yeah.
I think there's some, like you said, mental toughness benefits that you can definitely get, like
For
proving to yourself that I can stick to something for at least 75 days. But I agree that it's not like a long-term solution. Yeah. I've actually had, me and my life coach dove into this topic literally this last weekend. And it was like just quick fixes. And I'm like, we're talking about this stuff, quick fixes. And I'm like, I was going to start a 72-hour fast on Monday. But I'm like, not for a quick fix. But I did make some. I'm like, you know what? I was just doing it to do it because it's hard.
Yeah.
But like, I actually need to think about like, what are the actual changes that I want to make? Like, because I do want to make some more health changes, and it's like, I haven't thought or planned it out. I'm just like, I'm just gonna do this thing because it's gonna help. And it was interesting. He's like, not that that's a bad thing. He actually ends up. He told me, he's like, I actually do a 72-hour fast like every 2 months. I'm like,
wow,
that's legit. And he's in great shape, and he's older, and I'm like, maybe that's something I need to try to do. But I think it's the power of just consistency.
Yeah.
It's like if you did anything and you were consistent at it over a long enough period of time, it'd be really hard to fail.
Absolutely, yeah. Incredible results. The people that succeed, I think it's like what you said, they just keep getting back up. And I don't think that 75 hard or like a fast is not going to help, change that identity, because I think a lot of times it can be a really good kickstart.
Yeah.
Like you see
Catalyst.
some results. Yeah, you see some results from, your body changes a little bit in a way you like. You're like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to continue on. I think it can be a great kickstart. But
it's definitely not don't just look for 90-day programs. You got to decide what identity you want if you really want change.
Yeah.
Long-term change. So touching on that fitness though, you've done some, triathlons?
Mm-hmm.
What inspired you to get into that?
I've always loved sports. I've always just loved competing.
Yeah.
And I've always loved fitness too. And so
you are pretty jacked.
Oh, thanks. I'm trying to keep up, man. Just trying to keep up. But no, yeah, I think for me, just having something I can put on a calendar and it gives me a schedule and a routine that I can follow, and it's just kind of fun. I love race day. It's fun to get out there and be in that environment, and I just think it kind of keeps me accountable.
Yeah. It's different than playing sports though, because what sports did you play growing up?
Football, baseball, and basketball.
Okay, all team sports.
Yeah.
So doing triathlon stuff, that's a solo sport.
It is, yeah, and I kind of like that.
Really?
It's I don't know if you listen to there's Nick Bear. Everyone knows Nick Bear.
Love Nick Bear.
And then I'm forgetting her name right now, but there's an ultra runner that he's had on his podcast a couple times.
The girl that wears
Sally McRae.
I think. Yeah.
So I can't remember if it's Sally McRae. There's another one. It's not Sally. Courtney DeWalter, I think is what her name is.
Yeah.
She talks about the pain cave. Have you heard this principle? I love this. So for her, someone was diving into her mindset on her ultras, and she's set world records. She'll do 200-mile ultras.
Jeez.
Just insane. Completely pushing the limits of the human body. But they ask her how mentally she does that, and she says that she puts herself in this mindset where she's in a cave, and she calls it the pain cave. Mm-hmm. And when she the further she goes and the more pain that she experiences, she just imagines herself getting deeper and deeper into that pain cave. And for her, and this is I've tried to use this as well, you learn a lot about yourself the deeper you get in that pain cave. I'm sure with a 72-hour fast as well. Yeah. The deeper you get into that, you just start learning a lot about yourself and how you think and what your limits are, and it kind of gets fun to think about, well, what are my limits? What could I push,
Yeah. So
I haven't done anything crazy. I haven't done a full Ironman or anything. It's on the bucket list and on the schedule for down the road, but that's kind of why I like it,
Yeah. Do you play games with yourself? When you're pushing yourself? like even after I'll break in like the 72-hour fast. It's like, well, I'm 2/3 of the way there. So like, it's like, yeah, keep pushing. And then like, even when you get to 72 hours, sometimes like, should I go another day? I mean, I'm already like,
You're already there.
3/4 of the way if I did 4 days,
Yeah.
And I find myself doing these little mental games just to kind of push my mental toughness.
Yeah.
I'll do it like in the sauna. I'll be like, yeah, I'm going to stay for 30 minutes. And then a guy comes in. I'm like, I'm going to just stay till he gets out. Whether he goes like another 20 minutes
I
or
love
whatever.
that. Yeah.
Just
get competitive.
Yeah, just like over the stupidest things. But I'm similar. I need to find, I know we were kind of talking about it. Like I need to find something that I want to do for fitness, and maybe I need to look into triathlons. I never really looked into that. The swimming scares me though. The swimming,
it's the worst part, man.
Would kill me.
It's the worst part.
Do you train for the swimming?
I try. Like I'll go hit the pool, but I just did one this last summer, and it was an open water swim in the Snake River.
Okay.
And I had never done an open water swim. So I was so unprepared, and I was cramping up on the swim. It was bad news, but it was downriver, so kind of a cheat code there. But man, yeah, the swim is really tough. It's not my favorite part.
What was different? Because have you done like not open water swims?
Yeah, so there's some that they'll do it in a pool, and it's kind of nice because especially in like when it's springtime and it's cold, you get in a pool and you can push off the walls and stuff.
Yeah.
There's one I'm doing this spring. It's at ISU. It's the Bengal triathlon, and you do this one's like kind of soft, I guess, but you do the swim in the pool the night before. Then they keep track of your time, and then the next day when you start the bike, it's kind of according to how fast you did the swim.
Oh, interesting.
And so they still make it a race, but it's kind of nice with the
little recovery.
The indoor, yeah.
Maybe I need to look into that one.
It's a good place to start. That's why I'm doing it.
Yeah. What was the biggest difference going from like the open water from just a pool? Obviously, you can't push off the walls.
Yeah, you're just like completely disoriented. Like, you got to keep looking up, and I didn't even train for that, and so. Yeah, I was so thrown off. I'm pretty sure I was like zigzagging. I was like running into people.
Oh.
You're like getting kicked in the face at the beginning because everyone's like so tight.
Yeah.
And it's like it was a mile swim, but it's probably a lot longer because of how much I zigzagged.
I didn't even think about it, like the disorientation.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're right. Because I've swam in like the ocean or like lakes, and it's like you're swimming and you're like, yeah, you're like over here, over there.
Yeah.
Versus a pool, it's like you got your lines and you're just singing your lines. Yeah.
When you can see the bottom too, that's kind of a landmark as well, but you can't really see that in the Snake as well.
Yeah, you can't see anything in the Snake River.
Yeah.
You don't know what's swimming under you. Would you ever do an ocean, like an triathlon where you swim in the ocean?
Yeah, I would love to.
Really?
So there's, I think it's like one of the most popular Ironmans. It's in Hawaii.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Their swims in the ocean. It's also, from what I've heard, like one of the most, like the hardest.
Really?
Because it's kind of hilly, and I think the ocean swim's a little bit tougher, but
yeah,
that'd be fun.
What island do you know where it's at? Is it like Maui or like Kauai?
I want to say it's in Kona.
Okay,
I think.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I'd have the only thing that would be fun. I've got a buddy that's. Do you know Brendan Kraft?
I don't.
He's jacked. He'll love that I said that. I'll send it to him. No, but it's funny. He was actually he was bigger, like just kind of bulky, big, stocky guy, and he's gotten into like just running. And so he's cut like crazy, but he's in a lot of marathons, and he keeps telling me that I need to do a marathon. I did a half marathon with him, but I'm like, dude, if I'm going to do a marathon, I want it to be somewhere cool. Like if I'm going to do something hard, I want
destination race.
I want to go to Hawaii. Yeah. I want to go somewhere nice. That's going to be like fun and cool environment to be in.
Yeah.
Is like nice as the Burley triathlon sounds. I'm like, I don't want to go to Burley to do a triathlon.
Burley,
yeah. But if I'm going to do something hard, I'm like, I want to go somewhere, make it fun too.
Totally. Yeah. It just adds to the excitement of the experience, I think.
Yeah. But ocean, dude, I don't think I could swim a triathlon. Like being in the ocean would scare me.
Yeah. Same.
Not only like
I think it's a little comforting when you got like a couple hundred people in the water. So if you're going to get picked off by like a shark or something,
it's just meant to be.
Yeah. It's like 1 in 200 or whatever. But yeah, the ocean, it definitely carries a little bit of fear to it.
Yeah.
For me too.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool that you do that. Like I think there's this is my sales, when I'm recruiting people, if they're like active, or like into some kind of fitness, or have played sports competitively, usually I feel like they do better in sales. I look at like one of my buddies, Chad. It's like he played college football. He's really good at sales. I look at just other like top sales guys. Usually they have like some kind of competitive background, or they're into like, I think like a lot of guys that are into fitness are typically pretty good because they're consistent already.
Yeah.
They're consistent with the gym, or they're consistent with their diet, or in that they bring that consistency into whatever they're doing. They tend to be better. Have you seen that kind of? I know that doesn't always play out, but
No, I do agree with that. I don't like you've heard of probably like Andy Elliott,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
He's funny. He's like
he's a little extreme.
he's on the way far side of the spectrum there when
Yeah.
he's saying stuff like everyone on my team has to have a six pack or
It's
whatever.
crazy.
Don't know if I agree with that to that extent, but I do agree. I think there's an element to just like discipline there. Like
Yeah.
if you can be disciplined in your personal life,
Mm-hmm.
for me, like, you know, like when I'm consistent with my fitness, like I feel better. Like I'm just more confident.
Yep.
There's something about getting up every day and just like going and kicking your own butt at the gym. That's
Yeah.
like, well, the rest of the day like can't be too bad because I just killed myself at the gym, you know? But yeah, I do agree. I think there's definitely a correlation there.
Yeah. So it's the feeling of like, I just kicked my own butt, so nobody else can really kick my
Yeah.
butt. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I already did it. So
Exactly.
I feel it is. I talk about it like going to the gym, like cold plunging. Like it does help me manage stress. Like I'll the days that I don't go and I have something come up within my business, I'm like, just feels a lot heavier, makes me a lot more angry. When I go to the gym and or cold plunge and do that stuff and I handle stuff at the office, it's like, yeah, it's like, it's just not as stressful.
Yeah.
My wife will like, she'll tell me you need to go to the gym because you're getting cranky. Like
It's a good wife. She knows what you need.
yeah. She's like, you need to go do something.
Yeah.
But I want to talk a little bit about, so you, outside of your sales, you've also been doing some real estate investing.
I have, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. How many doors or units do you own?
So right now I'm at 12.
12 units.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I like officially started, like the first property I bought was at the end of 2023.
Oh, wow.
So scaled pretty quick to those 12 doors. Like,
Yeah.
I guess that's on that. So the first one I bought was in 2023 in like September, I think. And then the most recent one I bought was in July of this year as a 7-plex.
Wow.
So scaled pretty quick, and wasn't like planning on that. But yeah, it's been a roller coaster. It's been fun though.
Yeah. That's all here, all your units here locally?
Yeah.
Okay. Which is interesting. I'm like, for you to start your real estate investing career in the last 12 months, it's not been a great 12 months to like buy real estate. Like
It's so
traditionally, it's just for like interest rates and stuff.
Yeah.
If you have money though, like it is a great time because you can negotiate. Like people are kind of more desperate because of rates.
Totally, yeah. I feel like the inventory is a little higher.
Yeah.
And you know, when you find a seller that's pretty motivated, like you can tend to get a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Funny enough, like those 12 doors are split up between 3 properties, a 4-plex, 7-plex, and then a townhome that I live in with my wife.
Okay.
And we'll make that a short-term rental eventually. But funny enough, the 4 and the 7, they're both creative finance. And that's kind of like the only way I've really been able to
100%.
make cash flow work. And I've been like pretty picky with my cash flow just because I want to stretch that as far as I can.
Yep.
My ultimate goal is just to hit financial freedom. Well, that's not my ultimate goal. That's kind of like the first stepping stone, you know?
Yeah.
So the creative finance has been fun. Like it's kind of like a niche I just want to continue in and work on.
I want to talk about this. So you said you're picky with your cash flow. What are you shooting for on most of your investments?
It's a good question. So right now I'd really like to hit 10% cash on cash. And that's after like, I know everyone kind of looks at it differently. Like Brandon Turner talks about pure cash flow and cash flow. I look at it as like, okay, once I look at rents and then I take out vacancy, maintenance, and my management, like what's left over there. And so if I could hit 10% there, like that's solid. It's really hard to do. Like I passed up quite a few deals that are in like the 6s, 7s, even like one recently was like an 8. Really? And I'll probably change. Like if I can't find that 10 by the end of the year, I'll get pretty aggressive and just start pulling the trigger. But
I was gonna say, send me your 8s. I'll take your 8s.
I got you.
But no, 10% is tough. It is really tough. And so like with your creative finance deals, are you just looking for sellers that can seller finance back to you? Or are you doing like subject to deals, or what do you?
It's a great question. So I've done both. The first one, the 4-plex is a sub 2.
Okay.
And then the 7-plex, that one's a seller finance.
Really?
Yeah.
So with your criteria and the fact that you're looking for creative finance, how hard has it been to find deals? Like how many deals do you have to look at in order to find one?
Man, that's a good question. part of the reason I'm a little bit more strict on like hitting 10% is because I don't feel like I've given it my full effort of like finding deals and trying to like, source the off market properties and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know that I need to think about that. I mean, quite a few. Like I've had so many. I feel like I've put in so many offers. I put in several offers a week, and
Really?
and I think that's just the numbers game. Like that's what I found. And early on, I didn't understand that. Like I'd put an offer in, I'd get rejected, and I'd be like bummed about it. I'd be like, oh man, like but that's just. I think that's just part of it. Like if you're going to be picky about your returns, you just gotta send out a lot of offers, and you gotta be a little bit patient, I think.
Are you mostly going after off market, or are you doing both?
Kind of both, yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to work on some off market strategies, mailers, things like that.
Yeah.
Not like super deep into that yet. Primarily the two that the 7plex was actually on the market.
Really?
No one had, and I have a partner on that one, and he actually pulled a ton of weight in like the acquisition on that. Met with the seller. Like at first we pitched seller financing, she turned it down. But then he's like, no, and this guy's a stud. He came back and was like, hey, let me show you what the numbers actually look like on a seller finance, because it's kind of hard to comprehend. Like, how much am I going to make if I have a 5%, if I'm carrying a note at 5% or whatever it is?
Mm-hmm.
But when you show those numbers to them, it's like, hey, in 8 years, like you're making X amount of dollars just in interest.
Yep.
It looks a lot more attractive, I think.
You're playing the bank, and the bank always wins.
Yeah.
Like they make usually the most money.
I think it's a win-win, and for her too, like avoids a ton of taxes as well.
Yeah.
Like kind of splits up it's an 8-year balloon.
Okay.
So, we gave her the down payment, and she'll probably have to pay taxes on that. But then once the balloon comes, like there'll be more taxes there. But it kind of gives her some time to strategize a little bit, and
still get income without, like, she'll get interest income.
Yeah.
And she'll pay tax on that, but it's not like big lump sum taxes.
Yeah.
So, and usually when you're doing a creative finance deal, I think what most people don't realize too is like, hey, we're going to be able to do a better price if we can do a seller finance deal.
Exactly.
So your lump sum that you are getting is going to be more.
Yeah.
Versus like if you're expecting somebody to come out and take a 7% interest on this, it's like they're going to have to be on like a 7plex, I would say they're probably going to have to be like $100,000 cheaper to make it work financially.
For sure. Yeah.
So it's like you can get $100,000 more on your lump sum, and you're going to carry this for 8 years and make some interest. And but it's just so hard for people to listen because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
And so that's the battle we found too, is like, it's really hard to find sellers that understand sub 2, or creative financing. But when they're in a position that they, like, some of them just don't have another choice. Like we've had some listings that like, they just can't sell for what the seller needs to sell it at, or they're going to be underwater. And so it's like, we've done some sub 2 deals where it's like, hey, there's basically like, we'll come over, get a buyer that comes in, takes over the payments, and like you can actually walk away and move on with your life and not have to worry about paying this mortgage anymore.
Solid.
But it's tough. It's been a tough market, but that's incredible that you've acquired 12 units in 12 months.
Yeah. It's been fun, man. I love it. Like that's probably what I'm most passionate about is real estate.
What I want people to understand though is you said you own 12 units and you and your wife live in a townhome still.
Yeah.
And you guys are making good money buying real estate. What I think people forget is they look at, most guys are going to go out and sell solar. They're going to, do good. First thing they're going to come back to is buy a big house or buy a car, or like, it's like, no, dude, when you hear like, that's cool. Like your story, do you know Chandler Smith?
Yeah.
It's like hearing his story.
He's the GOAT, man.
Yeah. It's like the same thing, like I went to his retreat, and he talked to, just rehearing his story of like, they own like 16 to 18 units before they bought their first house.
Wow.
They rented an apartment until they bought their first house. So it's like, that is true commitment there. Like that is to be committed enough to buy all these other properties for other people to live in and just still you be renting. It's like, people don't understand the power of that though. It's like, you're going to reap the rewards.
It's true. I remind myself of that as much as I can, like I look at guys like Chandler, Todd Peterson, like his story's pretty crazy. Like the dude was driving a 10-year-old truck and renting and was making like his business was making millions,
Yeah.
So it's that delayed gratification Alex Hormozy talks about all the time. Yep. I kind of take pride in it a little bit. Like I don't drive a fancy car. Like I just drive something that works. And
you don't drive a Lambo?
I don't,
man.
I'm not as
Are
cool.
you even selling solar?
Dude, I know. It's there's an element of that that's like, I'm sure, guys I'm recruiting are like, does this guy actually make money?
Yeah.
Like look at what he's driving, you know? But, you know, I like cars. I've never been like a huge car guy, but yeah, the goal is just keep my head down and go and invest what I can and as much as I can. And then like, you know, enjoy those things later on.
Yeah. 100%. It's that battle of not increasing your life to your income.
Yeah.
You gotta be patient and like wait it out. And yeah, and I even kick myself on some things. I'm like, man, we've kind of splurged the last little bit. But we're still good where we want to be. But I'm like, there's always that battle. I've talked to Garrett about it. I'm like, do you know Garrett Myers?
Yeah.
With
Garrett's stud. Yeah.
I've talked to him about it too. I'm like, dude, what is like the balance of like, you could always feel like you could invest more. You know what I mean? It's like there's got to be a point where like, yeah, you know, I could invest 95% of my income, or, you know, you can invest 50 to 60 and still enjoy the other 40 or 50. You know what I mean?
Have you ever heard of the book, Killing Sacred Cows?
I have not.
Dude, it's a super weird title.
Sounds
it's
psychotic.
Not, yeah, it's not as crazy as it sounds.
Yeah.
But it's such a good book, and a lot of the book is about this principle. Like,
really?
What do you spend money on? What's important? Like, how much should you invest and stuff? You should read it. But
what's it called again?
Killing Sacred Cows.
Killing Sacred Cows.
The guy that wrote it, I think he actually had a career in door-to-door, did really well, went into finance, I think. He's from Utah. But it's the idea that, like, you know, like there are things, like if you're like so strict with like what you spend money on, like you won't enjoy life, and like pretty quick, like before you know it, like you'll be strict your whole life and life will pass by, and like you won't enjoy those things that money is meant to get you, you know?
Yep.
So I'm the same way. Like there's things I've splurged on too here and there. Cars just aren't one of them, but like the townhome, like, you know, I could have rented, but I was like, you know what? Like I'm tired of renting.
Yeah.
And I think it was a good investment overall too.
For sure.
But I agree with you. Like there's for sure a balance there. You don't want to be on either side of the spectrum, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's the battle of, because I'm also a proponent of like spending your money while you're alive.
Totally,
like,
yeah.
It's like, yeah, you want to leave stuff for your family, but like, dude, I want most of the time you're gonna, like, your family's gonna squander the money within like 1 or 2 generations. And so it's like, yeah, building this huge nest egg to leave, to pass on. Well, like, cool in theory. I'm like, I would rather, like, I'm going to take my parents, for example. I'm like, I would rather them spend money now on family vacations and doing stuff with us while they're alive than like them passing away. And then it's like, now we have some money. Like, why didn't we spend this money to like make more memories with them while they were here?
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Dude, I 100% agree with that.
So I'm like, with my kids, I'm like, yeah, I'll try to build something up where I leave you a little bit, but like, we're going to spend it. We're going to go on, you know, go on family vacations, make memories. Cause like, that's all they're going to have when I'm gone. And I'm like, that's all we're going to have of our parents when they're gone. Yeah. And so,
and that's what's more, I think that's like way more valuable than really any inheritance.
Yeah. So what's, with your real estate, like what's your goal with real estate? What's the outcome that you're trying to do with investing?
I mean, the dream is to get to the point where, you know, rentals pay for like my ideal lifestyle. Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly what that looks like. Like that's pretty far off, but you know, like the target I have now is just to hit that financial freedom number where, you know, like the passive income pays for all my living expenses.
Yeah.
And that's just like, I love the idea of that, because it's gives you like, just like a solid foundation, I think, to always rely on.
Yeah.
So that's the goal for me, like right now. And then I'll set my sights on whatever that ideal lifestyle looks like and dream a little bit more about that once I kind of hit that first number.
Do you have a goal for like this next 12 months of how many units or anything that you want to buy?
You know, I have a goal for just cash flow, like what I want to build up there. I'm not picky on like what that looks like. Like if I can find one home run deal and it's like a fourplex that's not realistic. Like it's not one fourplex won't get me there. But I think just like investing what I have and trying to get that return, you know.
What's would you mind sharing your cash flow goal?
Yeah, I'm happy to share. So this year goal, and this is kind of my financial freedom number, is to hit $60,000 a year in cash flow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you hit whenever I talk to people, and it's mostly people that haven't really started investing, but they're like, yeah, like I want to start buying real estate. And we're like, okay, you know, like what's your goal? Like I want to get to, you know, 20,000 a month in income. Like you don't realize how hard that is.
Sounds nice.
Sounds nice, but it's you got to have capital to buy all these units.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people forget about too, is like real estate investing is a good long-term way to build wealth. It is not going to make you rich today. Like you
Totally.
said, like, 60 grand a year in cash flow, 5 grand a month. It's like the capital that's going to, like, you're going to probably have to invest a few $100 grand in down payments
Yeah.
to get to that
Absolutely,
real estate.
yeah.
And so it's like that like you're not investing to get immediately rich. You're investing to have something that's going to always trickle down. And yeah, you're going to get tax savings, you're going to get, depreciation and appreciation over the years. But it's a long game, and it's a way to build wealth long term, and it's a way to store wealth.
Yeah.
You've got to find, if you want to build a real estate portfolio, you need to first find a career that's going to give you the income to be able to build a real estate
I
portfolio.
totally agree.
Like,
Yeah.
you need to learn, and we're both in kind of sales, like learn sales or go be a doctor and start making good money. And then you can start investing in real estate. But like, if you're only making 50 grand a year right now, it's going to be really hard to start build a real estate portfolio.
Truly. Yeah, it is. Cause say you're making 50 and your take home's like 20, I guess I'm curious if there's a guy like that, cause I get asked this question a lot,
Yeah.
guys that come out of their first year, they made good money, like more than they ever have. And they're like, dude, I want to get into real estate. What would you say? Like, would you say go buy the long term? What what would you recommend they do?
First, I'd recommend that they have a savings. That's what we've actually been doing this with our sales guys, because we have a lot of guys that make decent money, and the problem is, like, a lot of people just spend the money as fast as they make it. And I don't want to say, you could look at purchasing real estate as like a savings plan, like it forces you to save that 50 grand if you just go expense it into a down payment. But I'm like, that's probably only going to return you, like, right now, not much. Like,
Yeah.
maybe $100-$200 a month if you can find a decent property.
Yeah.
I would say look at ways for that money to grow. So like, invest it. So we've done like hard money loans. I've got a young kid that came to me actually listening to this podcast, and he's in the he does like x-ray scanning or something, and he makes decent money, rents with his brother, and he saved up like 60K. And he's like, dude, I want to get into real estate investing. I'm like, you need to make this money, make more money first, and then start to look to park it. Because real estate investing is parking money.
True. Yeah,
You're
it
like,
really is.
You're not going to access your down payments. Like, yeah, if appreciation goes crazy, you can pull HELOCs on it and get access to it, but you're parking it. It's going to be there, and you're not going to be able to access it. You're just going to have to live off of whatever it generates, and right now it's not going to generate a lot. So I'd rather look at, for those younger people, is like, look at short-term stuff where if you can do, so we'll do like hard money loans on like people flipping houses or stuff like that. And usually we're going to charge, 2 to 3 points, and we're going to charge 12% interest. So if you have 60 grand, you're going to get 2 to 3% up front, and then you're going to get 12% over, and usually it's 12% over 6 months. So we usually do 6 months terms. If they need a renew of the 6 month term, you're going to charge another origination, and you're going to continue your 12%. So if you do that, let's say you have 60 grand, if you do that for 12 months, it's like usually you're going to return like 16+% on your money. And it's like, I'd rather do that if you want to be kind of hands off and let that money grow, go out and have another good summer, save up another 60 grand while this is still growing, and then look to pill off, once you have 150 grand, look to pill off 60, 70 to put down as a down payment and park. But like, if you eliminate it all right away, it's like you have nothing to, like, there's just better ways that you could grow it.
I agree.
Now.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're going to see like huge appreciation like we've seen over the last 4 years. So like, don't bank on appreciation. You've got to just make a smart investment. And I also look at, like, if you can flip houses, like, it's a great way to make, turn 60 into 80 and then 80 into 100 and,
For sure.
So like, looking at those avenues is what I'd say for somebody that doesn't have I would say you need at least 150 if you really want to park something into an investment property.
Yeah.
And there's creative finance deals. Like, people look at, at Pace Morby. People follow Pace and like zero money down, and I just need to convince the seller to sell it to me for nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but you're still in a risky like you're carrying the debt, and you're still responsible for that payment. Most of the time it's like, even if you didn't bring any cash in, but you're responsible for the payment, well, you got to account for vacancy. Then you got to account for, like, what if the roof gets shot and you got to replace a roof or a HVAC unit? It's like, that's 10 grand. If you don't have cash, what Pace Morby does, what I think a lot of people don't understand, is like, Pace Morby has a really high income job. through content and everything
Yeah.
else he's doing, like he's making good money. He can bleed out 10, 20 grand a month in like losing properties if he needs to because he has such a high income. A lot of people can't do that. It's like we've bought negative cash flowing assets, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
And even like I've talked to a guy like Garrett. I'm gonna kind of share some of Garrett's stuff here, but like even he makes really good income, and he was like, dude, he didn't care. Like if it kind of broke even, he would buy it, and he's bought a handful of them. And I think he's finally like I don't want to buy any more of these. Like there is a limit to how much I'm willing to bleed out. And yes, you get your tax depreciation and you get your tax savings on your income, but there's a certain point where it's like it's just not worth stomaching the risk of losing money. And I think a lot of people get into it and they park their first investment there and they're like, I'm going to make $300 a month. It's like, dude, if you actually do the math on that, like if you have one thing go wrong, you're going to erase all your profits for the year.
One water heater later.
Yeah.
And like your profits are cut
gone.
in half or gone. Yeah.
And you've got to front those bills.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, it's not, I try not to make real estate investing look as easy or as glamorous as a lot of people do, because I'm like, there's actual things that you should be concerned or worried about. It is an unbelievable way to build long-term wealth and to park capital. But you need capital in order to play this game.
It's so true, man.
You
And
need capital.
I think you're spot on. Like everyone overlooks that because it's sexy to go buy a fourplex and like it's so cool, the flex and
Oh yeah, you talk about the units.
yeah, it's super fun. But yeah, when you get to the nitty gritty, it's a lot different than I think what people getting into it realize. And that's one thing I appreciate about you guys. Like you're genuine about, like, you guys share like some of the bad things too. It's like, hey, that's good. Like we need to do more of that. 100%. But I like the hard money thing. Like I think that's solid. Like that's such a good way to go compound.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you can grow, like I think that's what people don't realize. And if you can get that in the stock market, or if you feel like you can get it somewhere else, like go do it. I like hard money because I can control. I know real estate. It's the game we play. I feel like I can control my risk a lot better, because usually when we're doing hard money, we're getting 20% or more down. So we have that whoever we're loaning it to, we have they have skin in the game.
Yeah.
And then we're usually into the property cheaper, so there's some margin there. So it's like, honestly, the best thing that could happen was I do have to call the note due, and then I get to take over the asset and I finish out the project. Yeah. Finish out the project, and you got their down payment. Majority but realizing most borrowers are never going to want to do that, because that puts them in a really hard position. So they're going to do whatever they can to offload it. Even if they have to offload it and they were more into the project and they lose 5 or 10 grand, but they get their 30, 40 grand back of their down payment. That's what matters most to them. So you're in a really good position if you know what you're doing with hard money. I think that's a really fun game to play. And when you can do it at scale, it's actually it's interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's like you playing the bank.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that like, how do you have that structure? Is it like a fund that you're growing, or is it like a JV kind of structure? Like, are you allowing more people to do that? Yeah,
that's, we want to starting a fund for our team, because that was the biggest thing for our team members was they would only have 20, 30,000 that they would save up that they would want to invest. I'm like, it's not enough to get going. But, so now we're starting to do a fund where they can invest into us. We'll initially just do out hard money with the fund, 2 flips, whether it's we flip, so we can do it to our own flipping entity, or we've loaned out to other flipping entities. So
that's cool.
We'll do that. It's something I want to scale out. It's actually something that I think is a lot of fun, and it's a lot less. Let's say I have one out in Pocatello right now that I'm lending out to a flipper, and I flip, and there's stress along with flipping and making sure that your margins are there and stuff. I'm like, I really have no stress with his, because I'm like, it's been out for 6 months. It'll be it comes due in February. We're going to do a 30-day extension because he just got it done and ready to list. And so we're going to do a small extension for him. But with that project, I text him maybe every 60, 90 days, just checking in. Hey, how are things going? He'd send me some pictures of updates. I'm like, cool. It's cool. It's really hands off.
Yeah.
It's fun. And so I think a lot of people and it's a good return. We have money in the stock market and stuff too, but stock market's just so volatile where I don't have any control.
Yeah.
And I like this where I'm I have control, and I get to pick the projects that I want to invest in and make sure that my risk is where I want it to be.
Yeah.
So, that's I think a good way for people getting started, if they want to get started in real estate, like look at doing these things first and then peel off and start investing. And what you said about looking for like home runs, a lot of people get caught up in unit count. I'm like the complete opposite. I'm like just cash flow.
Yeah.
Like I've got one unit that, well, like 2 units to do over, like one's at just over 1,300 a month and the other one's at like 15. And
In
I'm like,
cash flow?
yeah.
That's amazing.
And I'm like, I'd rather have 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah.
And not have 20 something units to worry about.
100%. Less to manage.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. The margins are important.
Yeah. And I guess some people argue like, well, your appreciation could be better on a bigger asset. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. But I'm like, there's also a lot more headache and there's a lot more costs. And if you actually like look at your true returns on certain things, like I'm all about like, what are you actually getting? Because even like when you run the numbers on let's say you run the numbers on an investment, it's like you're projecting a 10% cash on cash, but vacancy is a little bit higher than you projected. And there's a lot more CapEx than you projected, or taxes go up.
Yeah.
They're higher than you project.
Dude, I never thought about the taxes going up.
Yeah. You've got to, what a lot of people don't like, you've got to bring your market or you bring your portfolio to market. So like every year actually look and see, okay, did taxes increase? What is my actual cash flow this year? And when I bought this investment, and even like you could buy an investment, it could be 10% this year. Things could change in the next 2 years. It's like 5%. It's like, is it worth holding that asset now that you're only getting a 5% cash on cash, or could your cash be better utilized somewhere else?
And even your equity too. Like, like you might buy something 10 years ago for 50, you put 50K into it. Now you've got $100,000 equity. It's like, what's your return on equity? I like bigger pockets. Like they talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
It's pretty something to think about.
I'm in like a real estate, it's called Be Wealthy, but it's a mastermind group in Scottsdale. And
is that Ryan Pineda?
No, it's this one is Brett Tanner. He's a big
cool.
real estate guy with like Keller Williams.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, so he's super cool. Older guy, and I think probably average age in there is probably like 45. I'm like definitely on one of the younger guys there.
Kind of feels cool though,
but it's cool to like be there. There's a few other guys that are younger. A lot of them like doing like wholesale or something in real estate. But like they talk about like this one gal, she came up during the presentation last time, and she had been coaching with Brent Tanner for like 10 years and acquired a bunch of properties. She had like 30, 40 units. And she realized like when they brought her thing to market, it's like, well, she's got a few million in equity. And she's like starting to look at her returns. She's like, if I cash this out and I started doing, because some of the stuff just wasn't returning as much as it was cash on cash. And she just had built in so much equity. She's like, she ended up cashing out like $1 million, selling enough properties, cash out $1 million in equity. And then she just started doing hard money with that equity. And she's like, it's been like so easy, and like the returns are so good.
That's
like she's
crazy.
like, I'm returning like, close to 20% on hard money if she can keep rolling it. I'm like, when you're talking about $1 million, it's like now you're bringing in $200,000 a year, and you're not touching your principal, and you're just like,
it's big time.
Yeah,
that's recycling money right there.
Yeah.
That's printing money.
Yeah. And there's some guys in the mastermind group that are doing like over $100,000, $200,000 a month in interest off of hard money.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's been an interesting thought of mine, like pivoting and going somewhat in that direction, but also still growing. Like I want to grow a real estate portfolio, but it is so hard. Like I don't want to complain, but it is hard.
It is, dude.
In today's
I'm feeling
market
it too. I'm feeling it.
But you found some. I think Rex. We went and looked at one of your properties.
Yeah.
Like a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, who has this? Because it was an on-market property.
Yeah.
And you had got it for a killer deal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's incredible. So
yeah, it's fun, man. I just love real estate in general. So I'm like, I'm just trying to learn as much as I can. I'd like to tackle a couple flips this year, and
it's fun.
And yeah,
that's cool. We'll have to talk more about that. But so ultimately, real estate sales, is that where you see yourself in 5 years, or what do you want to do in the next 5 years?
It's a good question. I've been thinking about that a lot, with like the beginning of the year, and you think about your 1 year goals, and then that leads to your 5,
Yep.
It's tough for me because like 5 years ago, like I would have never guessed like I'm, where I'm at now. I would have thought I'd be in medical school somewhere in the U.S., who
Plain
knows?
surgeon. Yeah.
But I think in 5 years, like if I could hit that number of what my ideal lifestyle is, by growing, first of all, still growing a career in sales, and and I love building. Like, I love sales, and I love that game. Like, it's just, it's fulfilling and it lights me up.
Yeah.
But then, like, continue and just stay disciplined and invest that into real estate and hopefully hit that number that's like, hey, that's my ideal lifestyle, and now it's covered. And then it's like, man, that's freedom. That's like wealth to me. Is like when you don't have to, you can wake up and like you don't have to think about, what you have to do. Like, it's, well, when you can wake up and do what you want to do is what I'm trying to say. Like that's like true wealth to me.
Yeah. When you can decide I want to go to the gym at 11 or 12 and I haven't got anything else to do today.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm with you. There's having money and no time is useless, and having time with no money is also useless. So it's like you got to have both, and finding that balance of what is the ideal life and when can I get to a way where like I can have the income I need to live the life I want, doing the things that I enjoy. Yeah. I think that's everybody's goal. But you got to have a plan to get there. That's cool. But it sounds like you guys are on the right track.
Yeah, trying, awesome. Man. And it's hard. This is something I always struggle with. Like, I love to plan. Sometimes I overplan, though. Yeah. Like, I overplan my year, and then once Q1 gets done, it's like, oh, well, that plan's, like, scratched. Yeah. Like, I have not, like, I got to make a whole new plan. And so, yeah, I think it's like kind of having the idea of, like, what that goal is, and then just taking your best guess at, like, okay, I think this first step, like, if I can get to there, then that'll help me get to my 5-year goal. Yeah. And then just rolling with it and rolling with the punches. That's like my whole motto. Breeze, my wife's similar. She's like, she wants to plan. When I tell her something of like, I'm like, I want to do this. She's like, how? And I'm like, I haven't thought that far into it. I'm just going to go in this direction. And I think I just feel at some point it's going to happen. And we've realized that with so many things in our business and our sales and our life, like if you're just heading in the direction and you are doing things that are moving the needle forward, who knows how long it's going to take you to get there or when or how it's actually all going to fall into place, but it usually just falls into place if you're just heading and you're consistent in the direction. Yeah. So it's like, if you just keep looking at properties, you keep making offers, and you keep heading in that direction, it's like you'll get there. It'll fall. Yeah. It'll fall into place. So before we wrap up, though, I want to, any insight that you would like to share with listeners on, if somebody's looking to get into sales or start their own business, like anything you'd like to share with that? Anything you'd tell yourself 4 years ago before you got into all this? What I'd tell myself is kind of what I was just talking about there. Like don't feel like you got to understand your next 5 moves. Like, it's great to try to do that, but I found sometimes like I cripple myself, with the analysis paralysis when I'm like, okay, well, if I do this, then this, and this. And sometimes it's like, hey, if you have a good gut feeling and you're willing to go bet on yourself, just go do it. Like, you'll figure out the rest. 100%. That's what I'd tell myself. Love it. Cool. Well, this has been a fun episode. We definitely went over, we're at an hour and 12. Wow. So, that went quick, man. Yeah, it goes by fast, huh? Get me talking about real estate, and I have a hard time stopping. Yeah. We'll have to do an update with you once this year goes by and see what you've done in real estate. So, all right. Well, hopefully you guys found some golden nuggets in there. For people that want to follow you and your journey, what's Instagram? Do you have an Instagram handle, or where? I do, yeah. I need to share more. That's like something I need to do better at, is sharing like my real estate journey. But Tyler Bean, I think it's like _13. Tyler Bean _13. Yeah. Love it. I'll try to share a little bit more this year and keep the updates coming. But awesome. We'll make sure to tag you in this too, so that people can start following you. All right, guys. Well, until next time, we'll catch you later. Welcome to the chase where the champions dwell. To the grind, to the hustle, the pursuit of wealth. Every story, every journey, every climb from the shelf. Here's to the drive, to the fight, to pursue the